When you start living with the end in mind, everything starts to change. What are people going to say about you? What message is your life going to speak when you're long gone? Because you weren't born by accident. You didn't just happen to be where you're at and happen to watch this video. There is always a reason.
So we're on.
I'm actually on my laptop, but...
Oh, you're on your laptop? Yeah, that's right, yeah. Awesome. So we're on, and I'm just going to share this. So it's 4 p.m. where you are?
Yeah, that's right.
And it's Saturday. So what do you got planned for Saturday night?
Not much, man. Just hanging out at the house. We're kind of finalizing our plans for our trip to Japan. So we'll be doing a little bit of research that we haven't quite finished up. Everything's pretty much booked now, but that'll kind of be our evening. Once we get the little one to sleep, Hallie and I are going to hit the book, so to speak, regarding getting ready to wrap things up to pack and head out for Japan.
Yeah. Wow, man, I can't wait to talk about all this stuff. Yeah. You're a crazy guy, bro. Like you're a different guy, hey. I feel like you're just a different breed, so I'm so happy to have you on here.
Yeah, man, thanks. Appreciate that.
Facebook is messing me around, but we're there now. And you're good. I'll tag you on it too. That's good?
Yeah, that'll work.
Peak performance. We got people on here already. Shilpa, what's up? Hey, if you're on here, just say hello so we know. Peak performance and faith. Awesome. There we go. Done. All right, so we got about 4 people on here. It's slowly rolling out. What's up, Aaron? Kaylin, hello. Nash, hello. All right, we'll just give it another 20, 30 seconds, then we'll go at it.
Sounds good.
Ben, hello. So Sunday morning here in New Zealand, so a lot of New Zealanders are probably going to jump on while they're chilling in their bed.
Yeah.
It's freezing, man. What's the temperature like there?
It's hot today. It's middle of the summer up here. So yesterday high was like 98, I believe. And but it's not humid here at all, so it's not terrible. But nice and warm for sure.
Yeah. Well, we're freezing here because it's winter. Yeah. Boom. All right. Well, let's do this thing. So welcome, guys. And those of you that watch on replay, remember to hashtag replay. I am super pumped and excited to have a friend of mine on here who I've been following for probably about 3 years now. And you can tell a lot about a person by the content they publish. And this man, I have a lot of respect for this man, and I'm looking forward to talk more in detail about who he is and what he's done. And I'll actually let him introduce himself. So, David Barnett, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you're about?
Yeah. Hey, guys. Excited to be here and thankful to be here. Just a blessed, good day. And I grew up in Ruidoso, New Mexico, which is the southernmost ski resort town in North America. And from there, I went to college at Texas Tech, and that's where I met my wife, and started several businesses that have been blessed enough to grow and work real hard and sell. And the first 2 businesses I did were CrossFit gyms, actually. So I grew and sold 2 CrossFit affiliates. And from there, a side business kind of spawned off, which was originally a personal coaching business, one-on-one coaching. And then from there, a nutrition coaching business. And it was kind of initially designed to just be something to help out my clients and get them kind of a sense of community around nutrition. And from there, that just took more and more of my time as I opened it to remote clients as well. And I read a book about business, and it talked about how if, God forbid, if you were to die today and your business would cease to function, what that essentially means is that your business has no inherent value outside of you, outside of your time and attention and energy. And that was kind of a smack in the face for me as a business owner and entrepreneur. And So that was kind of the primary focus of my wife and I in the coming 6 months. And, that's kind of where we're at now. My wife manages and runs Macroholics Nutrition now. And, I'm kind of in just a different phase of my life recently. And I've been blessed enough to have some time and energy. And I've used some of that time and energy doing philanthropy and giving back and spending more time with my daughter and my family. And it's been a fun, wild ride, and just super thankful for each and every day.
Wow. So 2 CrossFit gyms. So I didn't know some of that myself. So let's just go into this. Normally when I start a podcast, I ask people about their story. I'd love to know your story in a short form, from when you were a kid and some of the stuff you went through to bring you here.
Absolutely. So like I mentioned, grew up in a small mountain town. There was kind of 2 paths. You either played sports or you skied and or snowboarded. And, most of the coaches didn't want you up on the mountain. It was actually a rule for most programs just because injuries and things like that taking place up on the mountain. And so I had a lot of friends who, were going up to the mountain 3 or 4 days a week for, a third of the year or so when skiing was good, and to the surrounding areas. If you go north a little bit, you get into Colorado and into northern New Mexico where there's some really, really good skiing. And so my dad, really kind of taught us a lot about life early on from sport and competition, and use that as an outlet to, kind of teach us about ourselves. And so I played a lot of sports and went down that path. That was kind of one of my primary focus outside of school was football, basketball, track, and soccer. And it was a smaller school, smaller town. So I spent a lot of my time and energy doing that with I had 2 older brothers and an older sister. I'm the youngest of 4. And from there, graduated and went to Texas Tech University, which is in Lubbock, Texas. And that's about a 4-hour drive east of Lubbock. So that's in West Texas in the Panhandle, kind of the top center portion of Texas. And I was the only person from my graduating class that went there. And that was kind of an appeal for me, actually. I wanted to kind of branch out, experience something new. I had always been a kind of identified as a Barnett. That was my older siblings. We look a lot alike. We played the same sports. And so that was kind of an adventure that appealed to me, as well as the opportunity to try to walk on and compete in track at the D1 level at Texas Tech University. So got into that a little bit and quickly realized that the amount of time and energy to do that with the high possibility that I would never actually compete was something that I wasn't willing to do, and wanted to give my time and energy more to school and enjoying the experience of college. So that was kind of my focus there. Graduated from college. I had met my wife my sophomore year of college. So we've been together 11 years now, since then all the way through to now. And so after I graduated, even though she was younger than me, she graduated in like 2.5 years from college and got her degree in communications. And so when I graduated, which was just in 4 years, we moved to Midland, Texas, which is, the oil and petroleum capital of the United States, which is just a couple hours south of Lubbock. And there, I originally graduated with my exercise and sports science degree. I did my practicum and my internship with cardiac rehab here at University Medical Center in Lubbock. And that was kind of my initial plan, was to do that. And once I got into it and, kind of got my hands dirty, there's just a lot of regulation tied up with insurance and what you can and you can't do to help people. And essentially, we'd ease into it, people that were post-MI or post-cardiac event of some kind. We were just put them through progressive, like walking around the hospital. And then they would become an outpatient eventually, where they would come in and we put them through basic cardiovascular exercise, really cut and dry, simple things where we would monitor their EKGs and make sure it was safe and, everything was responding accordingly. And we would give them some basic continuing education. But even being in that setting, I didn't feel like I was able to impact or actually improve anybody's life significantly. It was really, as I said before, just kind of heavily regulated. And I found myself looking forward to being around CrossFitters in the CrossFit community, where I felt like, things were actually happening and people's lives were actually changing. And so from there, I graduated from college and decided that I didn't want to do that, even though that's what I'd worked towards for a long time, got my degree in and was kind of my focus. And I opened a CrossFit affiliate in Midland, Texas, called CrossFit for My Savior, CrossFit FMS. And so CrossFit FMS was my first gym. And I didn't really know what I was doing, just dove in head first. Didn't have hardly any money for equipment or, rent or a nice space. I had nothing. We found a cool little spot in a old kind of run down strip mall. It was like 1,800 square feet, had 2 little bathrooms. We busted out the walls and I drug a bunch of stall mats in there that I bought at Tractor Supply, which for those who don't know, it's just like a 6x4 and piece of rubber that's about a 1/2 inch thick or 3/4 inch thick, and laid out some stall mats. And we literally didn't have equipment at first. And, there's some steps in between there. I did some personal coaching at the local YMCA. Then I did a boot camp at a local park that I started and grew. And so I did have some clientele that were able to come into that first initial space. And at this time, I was working a full-time job, working for Century Graphics, a t-shirt and hat and embroidery company in West Texas. And so I would wake up in the morning and coach 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. classes, go work 9 to 5, come back, coach a 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, and then do elements after that for new clients.
Wow.
That was when I was a newlywed. So that was, a solid 1.5 or 2 years of that, and got to a point where I was able to quit my job, and my wife was working at a bank in downtown Midland, and she was also a realtor. And this was kind of our plan. And, we're both kind of type A people, and we were just kind of had our heads down, and we're just working really hard. And, we had the support of her family, who are West Texas, deeply ingrained family. They've been there since literally from the very beginning of Midland. Her family, goes all the way back to the very initial families in Midland. And so we, that gym grew. We moved to a much bigger space. And so my wife's kind of carrying the load. I'm kind of breaking even and trying to grow a gym. We moved to a much bigger space, and it grows even more. We got up in about close to the 3-year mark. I had about 300 clients. I was, the only coach, and we were just doing classes of like 30 people back to back.
Wow.
Then I took on some coaches, about pretty far into it. And my first coach, his name was Mark Garza. He was a detective, a narcotics detective at Midland Police Department. And one day he said, I'm about to retire and I'd be interested in buying this gym. And it was something I remember when my wife quit her job to help me at FMS to do heavy lifting from the paperwork side of things, like actually making it a legitimate business and paying the bills and managing memberships and all that. As it got more and more crazy, I was just doing that from dawn to dusk every day. And so she quit her jobs to help me out as well. And I remember paying ourselves one month and like paying our mortgage and our car payments and everything. And then like putting some money in savings and just being like, oh my gosh, like, we've made it, we arrived. Like, and I remember saying like, this is all I'm ever going to do. Like, this is what we'll do forever. This is the dream. Like, making a living, doing what I love. And, I get to be with you, and I'd leave the gym in the morning, come home, and she's made us breakfast. And then we can go to the movies at 10 o'clock, and I go back and coach the lunch class. And so I just, I thought we would be there forever. It's funny how life works out, And so, Mark offered to buy the gym from us. And, it was just, essentially, my wife had just gotten pregnant at the time, and that was planned. And, we weren't sure if she'd be able to have kids, but, we got pregnant right away, even though she had, a lot of challenges that the doctors thought would be, big issues for us. So that was a huge blessing. And, it was just an offer that we couldn't refuse. There's a lot of timing things. I did have a ton of support from my wife's family. I had some financial support from my brother. We started out with nothing, totally on our own. But as things kind of caught on, people were really supportive and able to help us. And my wife's parents worked out at our gym. Their friends worked out at our gym. We got to where realtors and then realtor clients, when people were moving into town because oil was booming. So we kind of caught the oil wave. It's just all kind of awesome divine timing. And so Mark bought the gym from us, and we had kind of this what now moment. And, we didn't know where we wanted to live and raise our daughter. And we had just had our daughter right as that was closed out, and as I finished my ownership of the gym. And so we both loved Lubbock. And we could have moved anywhere in the world. And, we traveled just a little bit and decided like Lubbock's where we want our daughter to grow up. So we moved up here. I looked at getting a normal job and thought that that's what I would do, just because of the financial security we had from selling a successful business, and learned pretty quick that that's just not me. And I'm not a very good employee. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I got to grow things and do new things and experience new things. And so I got like pretty down and depressed pretty quick, trying to do the normal jobs. And this kind of worked out amazingly too. But I had a buddy from college who introduced me to CrossFit. His name's Stephen Willis. And him and I met for lunch one day, and he was a full-time coach at a CrossFit affiliate here in Lubbock called Capstone CrossFit. And we're still real good friends with those guys. And my sister and brother-in-law still work out there now, actually, at Capstone. And I went to lunch with him, and I said, I don't know where you're at right now, but I'm thinking about opening up a CrossFit affiliate here in Lubbock. And, he said, I looked at some spaces yesterday to open my own. He was going from a full-time coach to open his own place. And so I was like, well, if you'd be interested, like, we could go in as partners on this, if that's something you'd want to do. And I'd been friends with him for a while at this point, and gone to competitions and competed against him. And so we dove into that and opened a gym, and that was a whole wild ride of its own. Our gym kind of had a unique dynamic where there was just kind of this aligning of the stars right when we opened. And, we had a games athlete in our area. His name was Richard Bolkin, and he started coming and training with us some. And then that was the first year they did the team series. We had a pretty good little team there of athletes. And there was kind of an all-star team from the West Texas area that had been put together, and they wanted someone to do the events against. And so this being a new gym and all of them being kind of deeply ingrained in their own communities, kind of saw this new gym as a good place to meet to without, invoking any like jealousy or anything like that. So they came to train and to kind of compete against our team of athletes for the first team series. And that was kind of the birth of our gym, right? At the very beginning, we had a real good group of athletes. Our team managed to beat them in a couple of the events. And a lot of those athletes ended up training at our gym from that point on, those athletes. And so we from our first year, this is kind of one of the craziest things. From our first year, we qualified for the games as a team. So we sent a team to regionals, had no idea that everyone had their unique story of how they got to Lubbock and how they ended up at our gym. It was just, and they're all in different places now. We're all still friends. We went to somebody's wedding from our gym, and almost the whole team was there at the wedding, just because the network and what happened there. But it was just a short time. There's people here for medical school. There's other people here for college, other people here for a job. And it was just perfect little moment. And so sent the team to the game. That gym took off as well, and was very blessed. And seeing that team compete and do such awesome things motivated me in a way that I had never really felt about CrossFit. I'd always been a businessman, kind of a family man first, then a businessman, and then a coach, and then an athlete, very casually. I only exercised. I'd never done more than one workout in a day, but watching that team and being around them was just kind of contagious. And I had a lot more freedom with a partner, with the financial freedom of my previous gym. And, me and my wife were kind of talking one night, and I was like, I just want to see what I can do with this. Would you be on board for that? She said, let's do it. And she was absolutely crucial to everything that happened from then on. So, I'd been working 12 plus hours a day for 4.5, 5 years at this point. And, I'd gained a ton of weight since college, and my wife, and I just even though I was still working hard and coaching, I was putting in, 4 or 5 hours of training a day, 5 or 6 days a week, and got really into, and only making so much progress until I got really serious about my nutrition. When that happened, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll break this down now a little bit, because now we're getting into the peak performance part. Mm-hmm. So you're training and you're working, you have CrossFit experience, but you still put on weight.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk about that a little bit? And you were training 4 or 5 hours a week?
Yeah. So originally, all through my first CrossFit gym, all I was doing was the class workout. But I was just eating whatever was convenient, whatever sounded, good at the time. And I was sleeping terribly. I don't think I would get home at 9, and I would wake up, I'd want to spend some time with my wife, and we would stay up late watching TV or whatever. And then I would set a 4 a.m. alarm clock, because I had to coach the 5 a.m. class at the gym, and I wanted to be awake when I got there. And so I was spent a long time not getting anywhere near enough sleep. Just flat out abusing caffeine to an absurd extent. I was drinking coffee all day long, taking pre-workout, drinking energy drinks and stuff just to get through the day. And so I was, working nonstop. And so I would, do a quick workout or whatever in between classes, probably 3 or 4 days a week. And then when it came to CrossFit Lubbock, I was able to have a lot more balance initially of, spending some more time to train, and with my wife's support and having a 50-50 partner and not running the gym all by myself. And Hallie helping me run the business as well, and being a stay-at-home mom. So that just kind of incrementally happened. I just started training more and more with these people who were at the highest level of CrossFit. And despite training more and more, my weight wasn't doing anything. I'd gained weight all those years, and then now it was just kind of staying the same. I was just, kind of sitting in that 250 to 300 range for a very long time.
How much did you put on? What did you come from to get to 250?
Yeah. So when I graduated from high school, I was 165 pounds. I was, I ran a 48 or 49 second 400 meter. I was a runner, good athlete. And in college, I played rugby at Texas Tech, which was just a club sport. It wasn't, anything really high level. But and so stayed in pretty good shape through college. And, then I basically from 190 or so in college, which was really just maturing and kind of filling out and getting into lifting weights kind of seriously for the first time. But then from there, I went from 190 to 275 or so, 280. at my heaviest over the next like 4 years, and just working, to the bone and not getting good sleep and eating like garbage was kind of the basics.
So you went from 190, which is about 86 kilos for those of us that do kilos, to 125. So that's about 40 kilos. That's quite a bit of weight while training. This is something people probably don't understand, because a lot of people think they'll just train and don't have to take care of their nutrition and, Right. Okay, so you put on this weight, and what sparked this change other than the motivation of watching these people and training more? How did you start dialing your nutrition in, and what did you do?
Well, it was weird. All through the years of owning a gym, I had tried paleo, like, I don't even know how many times, countless times. I had tried to do that. I would do it for a couple of days, do it for a couple of weeks. There's a couple of times I made it a month or two and lost, like 5. I'll go kilos from now on, 5 up to 20 kilos, even, or up to 10 kilos a couple of times. And, which, if you're listening in America, would be like 22 pounds or so. We'll just translate the whole time. But I could never maintain it, just with, the Southern culture and the family stuff. I always just felt, when Hallie's grandmother would make us, some recipe that's been around for, well over 100 years and 6 generations old. Like, I was like, no, like I'm gonna eat this. And the problem was I would just eat, and eat and just continue to eat way too much. But what actually kind of was other than the community and the competitive aspect of CrossFit, really being a motivator, it was just, whatever you call it, counting macros, flexible dieting. People have different terms for it. But that version and that approach just worked really, really well for me. It was kind of the clicking point, which was actually what worked for me in college as well. And for some reason I had, the like organic, meats, vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar aspect really on this really high pedestal. And what it led to for me personally, which that works great for a lot of people, being really in or really out, what it led for me personally was inconsistency. When I could have, like, there's nothing wrong with like a corn tortilla and like a couple of tacos with like, lean meat that my family has made and enjoying time with my wife's family and, the community that's surrounded by. So for me, it was actually, a sense of balance. And so from then on, my progress was consistent and steady. Once I got really serious about tracking my food and weighing my food and counting macros, essentially.
So what kind of calories were you on at 275 pounds? How many calories?
I've always had personally a really, really fast metabolism. I know if I eat 3,000 calories a day, even not working out, I'll pretty much lose weight or maintain my weight. I'm always hot. I'm always sweating, and no matter what I'm doing, if I worked out in the last like 3 days, like I'm just like hot to the touch, literally. My wife jokes that I'm like the from Twilight. I don't know if you ever followed Twilight, but I'm like the werewolves from Twilight because I'm always just like hot and running fast. And that's the way my life is too. My wife is and I'm always on the go and always doing stuff. I talk fast and I move fast. And I was losing weight, eating like 3,500 calories a day and working out, on and off pretty much all day is what I worked up to. I actually initially lost a lot of my weight when I was doing like 1 or maybe 2 pieces of programming. I lost the first like 50 pounds. And it was kind of like a bull seeing red though, as my results and progress, and I started to get better times, and my weights were kind of, my max lifts were maintaining as I was losing weight. I just kind of had the more is better mentality. I just wanted to keep going. And in the words of Morpheus from the Matrix, like see how deep the rabbit hole went. So I kept seeing, like, I was just basically for a while there, I was sleeping, eating, and training. And I really love that, and it kind of matches my personality. You know, whatever I'm doing, I'm definitely have an addictive personality and extreme personality. So that was kind of my life for several years, just training all day and sleeping, 10, 11 hours a day.
Wow.
So that was the life for me for a long time there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you lose all this weight, you get in amazing shape. And where is this in that timeline that you were just talking about in terms of training with these athletes and then wanting to go and test yourself?
Yeah. So, I'm losing weight and the team qualifies for the games. At the games, I remember being at the games as a coach and, getting done with the day and being like kind of adrenaline dump, watching them and going and training. And by then I had pretty much lost all my weight. And this was, about a year, I would say, of weight loss, pretty consistent and steady weight loss where I would get back down below 200 pounds. So I've lost 85, 90 pounds. And I remember working out at the games, real late at night and knowing that it was just really important to me. It was just kind of my passion at this point, and my heart was really there. I just wanted to see what I could do, what I was capable of, but most importantly, I had generated so much. There'd been a lot of attention from it, which was really new and which was fun. But also people were so inspired by what I was doing, and I saw people's lives changing in my own gym. And then indirectly, people were just following along with what I was doing. And that was a really good pressure that I took really seriously. I took that kind of as a responsibility in a weird way at the time. I remember thinking, like, when I didn't feel like it or I didn't want to do something, I really wanted to set an example for people. And I told my wife, like, I think I could do essentially whatever I wanted to when it comes to CrossFit. God willing, like, I think I could achieve as high as I wanted to. It would just take the commitment and sacrifice and time and energy necessary. And so with her on board and things kind of just being in alignment, I loved seeing people being like, hey, like, your journey inspired me to start eating better, and I've lost 20 pounds and I feel great, and I got off my diabetes medication, and thank you so much. And I was just like, I got addicted to that. I got addicted to being a source of motivation for others. So there was, I really loved that, and looked forward to it every day, and was just kind of sharing everything along the way. I was on social media and on every platform I could get on, and anyone who would listen, I was just kind of saying the things I was learning and speaking truth in real time as I was experiencing it, and just pouring it out there. And a lot of people were resonating with that. And so it was just kind of a snowball effect. And that was kind of the just continuing to work towards that. Regionals was kind of just the next step of, trying to qualify and to become an individual's regional athlete.
Wow. So let's get into this. What are you training like? Like, how many hours are you spending? What about your business? What about your family? When are you sleeping?
Yeah. So, like I said, a lot of people like pat me on the back and tell me how crazy it is. And I always try to redirect that towards the support system I had, towards just the amount of blessings that have been just kind of fallen at my feet. I don't call it luck. I mean, I do, like, make no mistake. Like, I worked as hard as anybody I ever met. I don't know anybody who trained as hard as I did or was as committed as I was. But that said, it was absolutely impossible without my wife. So my day was, I set a 4 a.m. or 4:30 a.m. alarm clock. I had the 5 a.m. class to coach every morning at CrossFit Lubbock. So I'd coach the 5 a.m. and the 6:30 class. And when I got done with the 6:30 class, I would usually do my something that wasn't super popular in like the field of CrossFit and competitive CrossFit. I would do my steady state cardio, which was usually just 20 minutes, wearing a heart rate monitor. This is kind of, it was weird for competitive CrossFitters, but I enjoyed that time. And it wasn't that like falling on the floor, like exhausted, killing yourself type of intensity. So I would do that. I'd listen to an audio book while I did it. And so I would just stay at the gym and do that. Then I would go with one of my coworkers, Derek Peoples. He was one of my full-time coaches. He coached the clients of my personal coaching business. So he was at the gym with me. He was there with me kind of every step of the way when it comes to training. So that's just another blessing that made it possible. But so we would get done with that first session. We would do like 20 minutes of steady state work and ROM WOD or mobility WOD. And then we would go eat a huge breakfast, usually like, really wholesome but simple stuff, almost always eggs, bacon, bunch of fruit, maybe some vegetables or salsa with the eggs. And so we would eat like not under, like to be totally accurate, like probably 1,200 calories of eggs and fruit, potatoes. We'd eat a huge meal.
And you're doing this workout and everything fasted. So that's your first meal of the day after all that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. And so then we'd go eat a big meal. We'd come back to the gym. We'd do another training session before the lunch class. And all through this, our client schedules were hit and miss. We had 20 one-on-one clients that we kind of coached together. And we capped it at 20. I think we had 25 for a few months there. And we ended up capping it at 20. And, but so he would coach and I would train, or we would kind of trade off. And so we'd come back and we'd train again, usually do our heavy lifting. Not always. It varied, of course, but that was kind of usually our heavy lifting. Then I would coach the lunch class. Then after the lunch class, my wife had kind of done her stuff with my daughter, Harper, at the time. And Harper would come up to the gym and hang out with me, and I'd spend some time with her and with my wife. And then I would do kind of our last and our main training session most days. And that would be like, 2 to 4 pieces of much more stereotypical CrossFit couplets, triplets, chippers, kind of little sprint workouts. And it would be kind of a mashup style, we would do. It just varied depending on our programming. Steven, my other full-time coach, was our coach. He wrote our programming. He coached us. He went with us to every competition. So his support was just crazy and integral as well to my success and accomplishing in that field. He was the coach, he was the competitive coach. I kind of considered myself, really a coach for the regular people. My personal coaching clients were almost all weight loss clients who, were inspired by what I did. And there weren't like competitors, they weren't people who that was all they did. They came and did their 45-minute session with me 3 to 5 days a week. And that was their only training. And so Steven really got into the programming for competitive athletes. So that's when I would do my main training. And that was the lying on your back, really pushing the limits and seeing what you were capable of with really good training partners. So we had a good group of people that would come together and train very early afternoon, like 1 to like 3:30 or so. And then after that, the afternoon classes happened, and Steven coached most of the afternoon classes and got a few other coaches on staff. So I've been up at 4, so I would get home about 4 or so. Eat another huge meal, usually, so I would snack all in between there. I would go with I was a huge beef jerky person. I just ate beef jerky constantly. I had a scale at the gym. It was just a chunk of beef jerky. And I would just weigh it, enter it in my fitness pal. And I was just constantly having amino acids flowing into my system, and nuts and seeds. cashews and almonds were probably my two most consistent ones. And I would just do an ounce here or there. And then my main carb source was coconut water, because it was all activity. You know, it was walking while coaching. It was training. It was playing with my daughter. And so I would usually get home. I would take Harper to do something. I try to spend some one-on-one time with her every day, and while my wife cooked dinner. And then so I'd eat my primary biggest meal there. And it was usually just a mountain, some form of meats and vegetables, and, you know, a healthy starch, sweet potatoes, things like that. And so she would always just be there to cook and prepare things. And I'd shovel that down, and it'd be about 7 o'clock, and it was time for bed for me. So I would be in bed before 8 most nights. You know, so I'd get in bed like 7. It was still totally bright outside. I actually went to bed with my daughter, who was, you know, 3 years old, 4 years old at the time. And we went to bed at the same time and woke up at the same time. So I was quite literally sleeping like a baby. You know, so I would sleep from, you know, 7 o'clock till, you know, 4:30, something like that. And that was like, you know, 10 hours or so. And, you know, my wife facilitated all that for a long time, and was super duper supportive, and do all of it without her.
Wow. So how many days a week are you doing this kind of training? 3 to 4 times a day? How many days a week?
5. So I would do that 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. That was pretty religious. And on Saturday, we would do one huge session, fasted, bright and early. You know, if anything, I'd have some coffee. Do y'all have Fairlife milk down there by any chance? Y'all?
No.
So Fairlife milk is just a milk product that's like filtered. But I would do some milk in my coffee on my way to the gym, and I would drink that, and that would be pretty much it. And then we had a really cool group of people that were there every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. You know, that was some of the most like spiritual and rewarding moments for me. Actually, it was like it built a lot of faith in people for me that I didn't really have before. I definitely had like a me against the world kind of mentality. Sorry, this lighting. Me against the world kind of mentality, and kind of saw everybody as competition, and you know, out to take what you have. And I remember like not being a big fan of training partners, because like in my eyes they would always let you down eventually. That's just kind of what my life experiences had taught me up to that point. And I remember showing up to the gym at 5:50. And, you know, we were all going to train at 6, and I was the last one there. And they were all, you know, there was 12, 13 people there waiting for me to open the door to get into the gym. And that was, you know, we built that over time, that community, but that was just like, wow, like these people are like really in my corner and really a part of what we're doing. And, you know, wanted me to be successful, and saw my victories as their victories, which, you know, of course you can't help but want to return tenfold, you know, when you get that kind of treatment. And so, yeah, it was an important time of me just learning about myself and learning how I want to interact with others. And, but yeah, it was awesome. It was an awesome experience.
Wow. And how long did you do this for? How many months?
So that lifestyle was about 2 full years.
Wow.
Yeah. So probably a little bit less than a year of weight loss. Then, you know, our initial intent was to go team. Our team finished second in our region in the open. And so we thought we had a really good chance to go to the games again. And some of our athletes who had been to the games before and ended up going individual that year. And I had finished, I think 38th. No, 40. I was 42nd in the open as an individual. And that was kind of it was a surprise. You know, I went to region, I was there to support him, and I was excited for him. But I was super bummed. You know, we had kind of trained together and planned on going as a team all year long, done competitions together. And so that was a big change. And Derek and I, the guy who was my full-time employee at regionals, were like, well, what do we do now? And when we got back home, we sat down and talked about it. We're like, let's qualify as individuals this year. Like, let's put everything into it and see what happens. And, if God willing, that works out, that's kind of the goal and the oversight. And, we really focused on process. We really tried to focus on, it being about the day in and day out being the reward in itself. It's not about the end goal necessarily. Like, you don't, cling to that. We did it because we loved it. But, that was part of our intentions of the structure of what we were doing. And so I ended up that next year, after a full year of definitely the most committed to anything really that I'd done in my life. I ended up 16th in the region, and Derek ended up 25th, and he ended up grabbing the very last spot after people went team. So we both got to go to regionals together, and that was kind of our big goal that we set out to achieve.
Wow.
And, so that was a big turning point.
That's awesome. 16th out of how many would you say?
I think our region had, I know it was in the thousands. I want to say 7,000 people in the South Central region. It was like 77,000, 8,000 around there, I believe.
Wow. So you make it. Yeah, I remember seeing you at the regionals. I'm like, the man, he made it. And do you want to tell us quickly about that? Like just a couple of minutes on that experience and running out there?
Yeah, it was weird. For me, there's different personalities, and I've had conversations with people leading up to this. I went to some really cool training camps with like-minded people, and I think I was pretty unique in the conversations we had. And people don't believe me when I say that, like, I'm not like, I'm uber competitive when it comes to my own potential, but I'm not a competitive person. Like I'm not like, I like to see what I'm capable of. And if you play ping pong against me, like you're going to think like this guy is crazy competitive, but like it has nothing to do with you really. It's about my own, things that I'm doing. And so when I got to regionals, it was kind of a relief in a lot of ways. And I missed my wife. I missed my family, and I was really glad to have done it and had set that example. But from there, I was really ready to focus on things that were bigger than myself. And so I was kind of ready for that change. I trained real hard. I felt like I had a responsibility to, because I had made it, and I wanted to see what I could do. So I didn't let off the gas at all. Leading up to regionals was the hardest I ever trained. It took it to an even higher level. And but at the same time, it was like there was a overwhelming. I remember being out there and just enjoying it and seeing my daughter cheer for me and her understanding what was going on, and it really meaning a lot to her that I give my best. And I remember really just enjoying it and living in the moment, not being worried about the results, just wanting it to be my best effort, and the cards fall wherever they fall. I've like people that have trained with me kind of have me in this, they think of me as like the most like intelligent, conservative, like when it comes to my rep ranges, I'm always trying to be really smart on how I break up workouts. Like I never just send it and go crazy. And I kind of did that at regionals, and I think I might have placed a little bit higher. I finished in the top half, which was really cool for me to finish. I think I finished 23rd out of 50 or whatever. And but to really just go for it and see what happens. And it probably hurt me more than it helped me, but there was some really awesome finishes too, and some not so great ones. And so I was totally okay with that. Me and Steven planned that out together with my coach. It was just like, no, man, like just lay it all out there. Like, he's like, I have no doubt that you're capable of making it back again, but like, you never know what life has in store. So, compete like it's the only time you'll get to do this. And so, that's the way we did things. And it was an awesome experience. And when it was over, I remember feeling really emotional and just thinking like, I just felt this totally different sense. Like I just have to give back. Like I have to, like I felt like I just absorbed so much attention and resources and everyone's like emotions and money and everything was supporting me. And I had sponsors and they were just really like in my corner. And when that was over, it wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to do it all again. It was, how do I help other people? Cause like, this is like, it's been overwhelming and I couldn't be more thankful, but I'm just ready to give back and do something bigger than me. Cause it's felt like all the eyes were on me, which is kind of my personality. And I've always been a loud kind of performer. And, but yeah, that was the overwhelming sense of what was next. How can I give back?
Wow. So let's just talk some more subjects. I mean, time's gone. We've nearly been going for an hour.
Yeah.
But just about like faith and how that fits into you and your drive. And do you think it's just your personality, or is there more to that? What's your opinion on that?
So when it comes to faith, I grew up in a religious household. My dad is a pastor of a church in Ruidoso, New Mexico, Grace Harvest. It's a small church with an awesome little community and really good music. And, all the people there are really tight knit. But that didn't resonate with me at a young age. It never really broke through. It never really felt genuine to me. He wasn't a pastor then, but he was, even though I didn't see a lot of it. It's kind of funny. We've talked about this quite a bit, but he was reading books and taking notes and spending a lot of time with God in my youth. And but he didn't really share that with us real clearly. And it was never, we went to church, here and there, but it never really resonated with me. And it was actually until I met my wife in college that kind of changed for me. And it changed me too. So it absolutely, I've always been a kind of a busybody. I've always been competitive. And so there's definitely some character aspects that were innate for me and for who I am. But I think, that definitely transformed me a lot. As I've said it a lot, I think pressure can be a really good thing. I think it can be really toxic and really negative in a lot of ways. But I don't have a better word for it other than really kind of, I remember sitting there talking with the pastor before I got baptized in college when I actually got saved, even though I was a Christian, growing up when I actually got saved. And he was like, and they have a really thorough process and they don't just baptize anybody. Like if you say you want to get baptized, they want to talk to you about it and make sure you really understand what you're doing. And this is at Experience Life here in Lubbock, which is still a great church. And, but the thing that was kind of big for me was saying that him asking me and me saying that I actually believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God, and I believe that he died for my sins on the cross. And the weight of that in that moment, just breaking it down, was really heavy. It was, I felt a responsibility. And it's, I know that deeds don't matter. It all comes through grace through him. But at the same time, it's just, I can't help but think like, what can I do to help others to give based on what I've been given? And that's been echoed in my life with the people that I've been blessed to know. So whether it's my wife or my coaches that have helped me or sponsors or my in-laws or my parents or my brother helping financially get me through college, it's just all those things feel like echoes of the same help and love that expects nothing in return. And so I can't help but think, what can I do to help as many people as possible feel the same thing? And that's kind of been, my focus really ever since I got baptized, but more intensely since the end of regionals actually has been just like what I wake up thinking about. So
wow. And so you pray for your clients. I've seen some of your posts up there, and you guys get pretty deep with your prayer and personal on some health issues and family issues and stuff like that, which I think is amazing. What advice, can we move into the advice now? Like, what advice would you give someone, who is not sure if they have the kind of drive that you have and that kind of intensity that you have? Is there any advice you can give them on how to start building that?
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces to it. First off, it's okay if you don't. Like, not everyone's like me. And like, I think that's, it's kind of a unintended consequence of capitalism being something that's just really caught on in pretty much every first world country. I think capitalism is good, and I think competition and pushing yourself is good. And but you don't have to be like me. You need to be like you. It's not like, not everyone needs to start their own business. Not everyone needs to wake up at 4:00. You need to do what you need to do to feel like you're seeking out the purpose that God has for your life. We're so different. And 3 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said that. In the middle of my regionals training, I probably wouldn't have said that. I probably would have said that, everyone needs to do more. Everyone needs to push themselves to, like try to do something amazing in life and what would be seen as like uberly successful. And so I've really learned that that's not true at all. And there's people who are so much more for the people around them that they love and care about when they're not like that, and they're much more balanced, and the world needs those people. So that might not be you. And that'd be a question to kind of understand. But if you are someone who wants more, and you know that you're capable of more, and you're hungry for that, passionate for that, and you've thought about it, and you think like, no, like there's more for my life, and I need to get my hands dirty and learn how to, really push myself and things. If that's something that you've prayed about and think you need, when it comes to advice, the first one that's really resonated and been consistent in my life is self-honesty. I think that it's inherent to our nature that we kind of define our own truths, and we kind of err towards comfort. So I think we're really, really effective at lying to ourselves and deceiving ourselves. And it's hard to open up people's hearts to that reality. And it sounds like, to say it real clearly, which can sound a little harsh, is that most people who want more in life and feel like they can't, or that something's working against them, most of them are full of crap. And, they're totally deceiving themselves about the reality of the situation and the reality that their life really is in their hands. And they are, you do have, the ability to change your environment and to change the surroundings. And not everyone's going to make it easy for you. Not everyone's going to just lay over and get out of your way. And there's going to be an infinite number of challenges, but ultimately it's you. It's the mirror that matters most. So self-honesty is like what I think the vast majority of people in that boat need to really look at. And when you can do that, when you can really self-honestly just say like, I'm not where I'm at because I'm not doing what it takes. It's like, to me, it's the first step for most people in that situation. Of course, everyone's different. And so there are people like that. And then the other piece of advice that kind of counteracts that I've seen really consistently, that has just remained a theme for a long time, to where I really lean towards it as being more of an inherent truth, is being kind to yourself at the same time. It's like, you're not perfect. You're never going to be. You're never going to make everyone happy. You're going to mess up more than you can even imagine. You're going to fail epically so many times. And that's the honest truth of it. That's honest. But at the same time, it's not a mental state of, I suck, I'm a failure, I'm a sinner, I'm a loser, I can't do anything right. If you operate from that perspective, you'll just live in a cycle of self-hate. So it's having both in a really, so this like brutal self-honesty of just like, why things aren't the way you wish they were, or why things aren't closer towards your ideal. But also just realizing that it's okay. Like, you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to achieve everything that you think you should achieve or that you think you're capable of. And that's fine. And it's okay that you're not perfect. And, Jesus has already paid that price, and it's going to be okay. Despite how many times you mess up. And the worst thing you can do is just live in that cycle and get stuck in that, I'm the worst, perpetuating self-hate that just does nothing but keep you in that hole. So learning how to bounce back from failures is just as important as learning how to fail less often. Just being like, hey, I messed up, today's a new day. I'm going to do my best starting right now. So those two pieces would probably be my most consistent pieces of advice if I'm worthy of giving that to anybody.
That's awesome. Last thing we talk about fat loss. Obviously, we've talked about this. That's one of your businesses. You're so good at it. Your business is awesome. I will share links of your business, and also we'll end with talking about what you're doing with the Murph challenge and all that stuff. But what would be your simple advice you'd give someone who's beginning their fat loss journey, or who have tried paleo, tried keto, and bounced up, down, the yo-yo stuff? What advice would you give them?
You could go back and listen to the two things I just said, self-honesty and self-kindness, learning how to be brutally honest with yourself and how to just try again today, try again right now. Those two things are huge pieces of it. But more practical advice, as far as accurate advice, we're not dogmatic about what we do. We don't see it as like, this is the truth, this is what works, and what everything else is dumb and silly. We don't feel that way at all. I think keto is great. I think paleo is great. I think, even being a vegan is awesome for some people. But that said, a question I would have anybody ask themselves trying to make a serious lifestyle change would be, can you do it forever? And is this something that, like, can you look at it? Can you step back and look at it honestly and say, this is my life now and forever. This is what I'm always going to do. And I feel good about that. I feel, not necessarily comfortable, because it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard. Change always is infinitely more uncomfortable than you can ever imagine. You can't imagine how hard something is going to be that you've never done, because you've never done it. So try to look at whatever path you're envisioning for yourself and ask yourself that question. Is this my life forever? Because if it's not, you're just going to end up back where you started. And if you see it as like, that's an infinite hike, an infinite journey that I'm always going to be on, like this lifestyle, diet, whatever version you're doing. If the answer is a solid maybe, because I don't think there's a definite yes ever, but if it's a solid maybe, then it's worth trying. So that would kind of be the initial thing that I would suggest to most people.
Man, awesome. Simple, straightforward. A whole bunch of people here commenting all kinds of stuff. This chat went a bit different to, every chat has a different flow. And man, I want to talk about that before we end, about your Murph challenge. So I don't know if you guys that are watching, like, David's doing a Murph challenge and he's raising money. I think it's $25,000 for the military and the veterans. And also he's been trying to get Dwayne The Rock Johnson to see what he's doing and join him for the workout. So if you don't know what a Murph workout is, maybe you can just explain that to everybody.
So Michael Murphy is a Medal of Honor award recipient who died in Afghanistan in battle. And he did a workout really consistently that he called body armor. And he would wear his 20-pound weight vest or 20-pound body armor. And he would run a mile, do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then run another mile. And he did that really consistently for years and years. And that was his go-to workout. And so now that's a hero workout that people do on Memorial Day, all around the world, really. But he was an American veteran, so it's really big in the United States. But it's also a big fundraiser. So I've been when I initially started, I did that workout every day for 107 days. Then I got a real serious back injury. and still working on that to this day. Still going to therapy consistently and stuff. And so I wasn't even doing that workout. I was doing a snatch, actually, going for a snatch PR.
All right, so let me say this. So you're doing a 1.6K run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, 1.6K run, and then you were doing a different workout every day, and you're lifting heavy. Is that right? Heavy lift?
That's right. Yeah. So it was I hadn't PR'd my I haven't been doing like since regionals and all that. I hadn't been following like a serious weightlifting program. I had been lifting heavy, but not following like a structured program. And so I'd been focusing on weightlifting for a few months, and snatching was going really well, and hit 245, 255, 260, and 260 was my lifetime best ever. Wow. I hit 260, and so I put 265 on, and felt great. And my wife and daughter were out there watching, and they were just hanging out in the sun, and they were watching, and I snatched and I caught it, and it was like real stable in the bottom of my snatch, 265. I went to start standing it up. And back just popped on me. Still don't really understand what exactly happened. I do have 3 herniated discs in my lumbar that are pretty serious and been pretty debilitating for a while now. And so after the day 107, my initial plan was to just heal and then eventually get back into it whenever I was ready. And then one of my real good friends said, well, I'll do it today for you, and because at this point I didn't know how seriously injured I was. He's like, I'll do it for you and you can get back on it tomorrow. And so he went and did that day, and then couldn't sleep that night, and had another friend offered to do it. And so that just became a thing. So since then, I've just been having other people have been volunteering without any trouble. I made a post on Facebook, and it was so blessed. And I just got filled out the month in an hour. 31 people stepped up and offered to do Murph, and they send me a picture and we post that. And so it's just continued. It's just another thing that, you think it's the worst thing that could ever happen for this fundraiser, and it ended up being the best thing that could ever happen. It got a bunch of new exposure just from all these different people posting and sharing it and doing the workout. And so now we're up a little bit above 17,000. And so we're about 2/3 of the way there. And, the Rock has always just been a side thing. As far as, if we got his attention and he made one post, I have no doubt we'd hit the 25,000 overnight or whatever. But, it's not really about that or about him. It's just another way to try to garner attention, and for a cause that, is just kind of, for some reason, has always been really near and dear to me. I just like when I see my daughter asleep in her bed and just know that she doesn't have to worry about a thing. I just feel overwhelming gratitude for veterans and soldiers, both active and, of course, the memorial aspect of things too. So that's kind of been a side project that I've been doing.
Wow. So I'm going to put that link on here too, guys, so you can check it out. Those of you that want to give to that. There's so much we could keep talking about, because I know you take Converse shoes, right?
Yeah.
I saw you drawing stuff with white chucks. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, it's that's another one of my hobbies. Sweet. Yeah. So I've been doing that. It's funny because I don't even know what to do with it, but I have like a line of people who want to buy a pair of shoes, and I just I like art, and I've actually could have gone to college for that, and ended up going to Texas Tech instead. But I love art, messing around, so I've been sketching on some shoes and making some money doing that just because I love it. And life's weird, man. You never know how it's going to work out.
Yeah, but man, I love your attitude. I love your insight. I love your heart. I love your perspective. Like, that's why I wanted to have you on here, because you're a balanced guy and you challenge me in so many ways, even in stuff that you've said today. And I just want you to know that, like, man, I respect you. And your family, your beautiful wife and her beautiful daughter. I see your posts about that and how important that is to you. And I think you'd make an amazing coach too, to help people through life. And so, man, thank you. Thank you for coming on here.
Well, back at you, man. I really appreciate it. I remember when you left me a voicemail at regionals, all I had seen was like a couple of your comments on my posts and stuff. So I knew who you were, but I didn't know you real well. And I remember hurting pretty bad that night, and it impacted me pretty well. So I'll never forget that. I remember you leaving, it was a message on Facebook, like an audio voice memo or whatever. And I remember just being like, I was really tired, so that might have been part of it, but it made me super emotional. And it was just another reminder of like, golly, like people care. People care that I'm here, and people care that I've achieved this, and it motivates them to do something. So I feel a lot of responsibility for that. But yeah, so thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Man, that was awesome. Hey, just when we finish, we get people to drop a wisdom bomb or a one-liner, just one sentence or a quote or a scripture or anything that might be big for you in the season you're in right now.
If there was something that I'd want to say about the season I'm in right now that might be valuable to others, is that change is always meant to be. Change is always meant to be. It's in God's plan. And no matter how bad something might seem, it's happening exactly how he intends to happen. So whatever you're going through, as terrible as it might seem, like, it's going to be okay. It's all part of God's plan.
Wow. Change is always meant to be. I like it. Awesome. Well, there you have it, guys. We're done. Podcast 11. I want to thank you again, David. Thank you so much for coming on. And there's people just saying thank you. That's so awesome. Comments on here. But yeah, man, hope you have an awesome Saturday evening with your family. And well, what you can do actually is stay on here as I end this thing. Okay. And then we can say bye. So there you have it, guys. We're ending this podcast, and we're going to see you in a couple of days with a new episode. So talk soon.
Faith and patience. Faith and patience. Patience means allow it to happen. Stay the same. Stay persistent. Keep going. Faith, know that it can happen at any moment. Get excited, because it can happen at any moment. You were so close. Don't quit now. Keep pushing. You got this.